Hi, I'm Alberto Santillan of AYF Music, and I'm here with Dave Davidson of influential Chicago math rock powerhouse Maps and Atlases, and they're set to take off on a rocket ship here, and it's going to take off here at the Cellar Door on one of the last nights of April here in 2013, and we've got a few questions for him, so here we go.
All right.
Now, at this point, Maps and Atlases, you guys have been really well regarded because of your live shows. Like, there are a lot of them, some of them are like the stuff of myth, and I wanted to ask, like, at this point, I wanted to ask, like, do you have any memories of the first Maps and Atlases show?
Yeah, definitely. I remember really well.
All right, tell us about it.
Well, we played like a house show in, it was in Davenport, Iowa, and I remember I had a cast on my leg, because I had a broken foot when we first played, so I was like standing there with this, playing with the cast on, and yeah, it was it got shut down by the police, and also it was like a themed party where it was like, I can't remember exactly what the theme was, but it was something like, you know, like hillbilly or something, I don't know, but like basically we didn't know that it was like a themed thing that people were like dressing up. We just like, I don't know, thought it was like nobody told us it was like a thing. So basically we showed up and we were like, oh, okay, you know, and like this is like just the kind of party, you know, it's like a wild party because people were wearing like these crazy outfits and like and stuff, but yeah, it was really fun and really cool, and everyone was super nice, and yeah, it made us feel really positive and definitely like gave us like, yeah, I think just, yeah, we didn't know like what to think or expect, or we hadn't really had any like reaction to our music of any kind, you know, like, so being able to play for people and have it be like such a fun, cool response, even though it got shut down, you know, was still like really exciting and fun and cool, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you guys have played hundreds and hundreds of shows since then, and some of these legendary shows that I speak of is you guys have had a long and fruitful association with the Central Valley. This is your second time in Visalia, but you guys have played at Fresno a shit ton. Now, tell us about your Valley connections.
Well, I think the first time that we came here was during our first, like, I think it was our first West Coast tour with, we were opening for RX Bandits, and we, which was super awesome, and, you know, that was our first time, like, playing, like, you know, touring California or anything at all, and I think that we just had a day off, and, yeah, some nice folks invited us to come play at their house, and, you know, it seemed cool. I mean, we never, like, none of us knew anybody from Fresno.
Easter Sunday.
Yeah, totally. I think, and it was awesome and super fun, and just like was so, I don't know, such a positive experience. And I think that part of the really positive association that we have with this whole area is just the fact that, you know, it totally developed in a way where it was just like came from playing like a house show and having a bunch of, you know, I mean, it's not like it was tons and tons of people, but just, you know, a lot of nice people who are around, and every show that we've played since then, I mean, including tonight, has just been a sort of growth from that initial experience, you know, and I think that, yeah, so it, you know, yeah, it really does feel like a sort of growing friendship and association, just like with the, you know what I mean, like, I don't know, every time we come back here, it's always like, we always know it's going to be really fun and positive, and, you know,
always open arms, right?
Yeah, totally. Like, we didn't really, you know, a lot of times when we go to a city, it's like, we will, like, oh, it's like, you know, either we'll like know somebody and they'll be like, oh, go to this, go to that, or whatever, and but yeah, every time in Fresno or Visalia, it's always been like, I mean, we've definitely like gone and done cool stuff, but it's always like, yeah, everybody's gonna be really nice and cool, and, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, even tonight, it's like, yeah, I've just seen so many people from those shows, you know, the house shows we've done and stuff, and yeah, it's really cool.
There's a lot of love here, right?
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of love, although some of your albums, I know a lot of people who cite them among their favorites, and I wanted to ask you about the new one, Beware and Be Grateful. Could you tell us a little bit about it, like the recording, the inspiration, like all that good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, it was a really fun process making it. I think that, like, you know, in some ways, it sort of was a progression from the process of Perch Patchwork, in that, you know, worked with Jason Cupp again, who, you know, I love working with, and he's like, you know, a really great guy and a good friend, and obviously super talented individual, and yeah, so we kind of, you know, did a similar process to Perch Patchwork, in that it sort of started with a lot of sort of just basic song concepts, and sort of just like saw where, just sort of like experimented with them and saw like sort of what paths they started going down, and then built on that. But I think in this case we kind of built, we started by, well, one kind of funny thing that sort of happened on accident was, one day him and I were in Chicago, and we were just walking down the street, and this guy had all these crazy keyboards for sale, like little like old Casio keyboards for really cheap, and you know, and we're just like, well, we should just get these because they seem like fun to play around with. And you know, a lot of times so we got all of them, and a lot of times we were demoing stuff, it just sort of just start with guitar and vocals, and in this case we sort of took the demoing process as an opportunity to experiment with the keyboards and sort of see what they could do. So yeah, when we got going and sort of had like, okay, here will be the songs in the album, we had all these crazy keyboard demos, and even though most of the keyboard stuff didn't really go on the album, it sort of informed this crazy, like, sort of abstract approach to making the record, and so yeah, there's that weird start that it had, but that was fun. But another thing on this album is, I think every song we really tried to incorporate some concept that would be a real challenge, to just like that would sort of push us to think about something new. You know, for example, I think when our band first started, the idea of having a lengthy guitar solo in a song or something seemed just, I don't know, sort of counter to, not necessarily against what we're doing, but just hard to conceptualize exactly, like, okay, we have a guitar solo in a song, how does that sound? And I think on this album, there were things like that in every song. It's like, okay, well, you know, we're gonna do this in this song. Like, how could we do that in a way that's new and that's challenging to us, and that also serves the song well, you know? And so I think there was a lot of that on this album. But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, there was a lot to it. Obviously, I think every album sort of is a real, like, exploration of a whole bunch of stuff, and so it's like, yeah, once I sort of start talking about it, it's like, okay, well, this part of the process and that part of it. But yeah, I mean, there was so much to it, and it was such a fun experience to make it, and you know, it felt really good to make, and I'm excited to be out playing it and, you know, sharing it with people.
Yeah. Speaking of concepts and keyboards and like playing to enthusiastic audiences, word around the campfire is that you guys have been covering the Tears for Fears classic, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and I think that's totally fucking awesome. And I just wanted to ask, like, it's kind of a music-y question, it's kind of a two-part question. What's one of your favorite covers, and like, what are some of the influences, like Tears for Fears, that like fit into the aesthetic, that, well, what influences creep in that we wouldn't expect?
Huh, that's a good question. I mean, I think, you know, a couple of the influences that we regularly cite, I think also partially related back to the previous question about the album, like in influences and whatnot, you know, like I always sort of reference like the Talking Heads and also David Bowie as like influences on the band that have sort of been consistent, you know, consistent influences on like everything that we do, if not in like a really specific, like I feel like we don't really ever take those bands and be like, okay, well, let's make this part be more like the Talking Heads or anything like that at all. But I think just, you know, both the Talking Heads and David Bowie were so, you know, that we're constantly growing and evolving as artists, and also continuously trying to make albums that were, I don't know, I mean, the Talking Heads albums are so like fun and danceable, but also so artful and so unbelievably different, you know, and I think David Bowie tried to do that with, you know, with every album too, and that was, you know, that was an influence on Beware and Be Grateful in a lot of ways, in that I think when we go into songs, we'd think like, how can we make a song that does this or does that, but also seems like, I mean, I feel like sometimes when you listen to David Bowie, it's like, you think like, that he, if not consciously, I mean, probably consciously, was trying to make something that, you know, was like, had never, you know, been made before exactly, or at least like put things together in a way that seemed like, you know, futuristic or something, like in an actual, like, you know, ahead of its time kind of way. And so yeah, I think we wanted to make stuff that was, you know, that hadn't been done before, and were influenced by David Bowie and Talking Heads. But I mean, obviously there were tons and tons of bands that were influenced by, and we've all listened to so much music together that it's you know, is a really, just listening to so much music is really like a growing experience, and a really big growing part of what it means to being on tour, when you just have this huge amount of time, and you know, you get to meet so many people too who know about so much music. We're like, oh, have you heard this, you heard that? And it's like, you just, every time I go on tour, I feel like I come home with such a, like a larger, you know, library. Yeah, exactly. The large library in my head of, you know, yeah. It's so crazy how, you know, you can spend so much time, you know, listening to music and being on tour and all this stuff, and still, you know, one of my friends are sort of like, have you ever heard of this band? And they're like, no, you know, no, I've never heard of them. And it's like, oh, this came out in like the 80s, and it's a record that's just completely like solid and, you know, moving and interesting and all that stuff. And it, you know, it's just, it's so fun and cool that the world has so much awesome stuff in it. Yeah. You know, but like so much cool music that is just, and now is definitely the most exciting time, you know, like there's so much good music that's coming out now, and so many cool bands, and it's just such an awesome time to be able to you know, to be a music listener, you know, that it's, I'm definitely excited to be able to listen to so much cool music now.
Speaking of cool music, this should be the final question. What one Maps and Atlases song are you most proud of, or are you proudest of? I don't know how to. And especially, what's your favorite song from the new record?
Huh. That's a really good question. I feel like there are so many songs that are special. Yeah, and they're in such different ways too. Because, like, for example, like, you know, like the song Perch Patchwork is a song that, because you hear it so infrequently, you know, like, because we rarely play it, and because it was so, you know, sort of conceptual, like as far as its arrangements and stuff, and it wasn't just, you know, it's not like something where I can go like, it's like not as accessible for me, even though I can like play it and like, you know, I can play it and sing it to myself, but it's like listening to the actual recording of it seems, there's just enough distance away that I feel like I can kind of appreciate it in a way that's different from songs that we play all the time. So that's a song that I think just because of that distance that I have an appreciation for, that's different than the other songs. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, you know, Fever, I think, is a song that I really like. You know, I mean, it was a song that I was really excited about for a long time, you know, and really, I mean, I feel excited about all the songs, and you know, a big part of what's fun about releasing music is getting to be like, I'm excited for people to hear this, and I want to put it out, and you know, every song that is on the album and any album that we've released, I've had that feeling about, you know, and I'm excited about. But you know, specifically Fever was like, for a really long time, was sort of playing that song and just getting really pumped up to like have people hear it, you know, and just like share it, you know, because I was so excited about it. So, and I still feel that way about that song, and so yeah, I don't know.
All right, terrific, man. Thanks for the interview.
Dude, thank you very much.
Maps and Atlases' latest album is Beware and Be Grateful. It's out on Barca. Go check it out. I'm Alberto Santillan of AYFmusic.com, and I'm signing off. We'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot.